So welcome back, and in this part we're going to be creating our core folder and actually connecting to our database. And we're essentially setting ourselves up here to include anything we like functionality wise. So for example, if we decide that later on down the line we want to go ahead and incorporate a forum or a guest book, we can do all of our functionality or create all of our functionality within these files and then just include them into our overall initialization file. So let's go ahead and start. We'll open up an open dialog, and remember we created this core folder. At the moment it contains nothing. That's fine, we can go ahead and fill this up, which is what we're going to be doing in this part. So the three folders that we're going to create in here, the two folders that we're going to create in the file, the two folders are for database activity. So in this case we're just connecting, we're not doing anything else. We're going to have one for functions, and then we're going to have a file called init, which is going to initialize everything, and it's going to pull everything together, include everything that we need, and we're going to apply that to the top of every page that we create. So let's create our folders first. The first one, like I said, is database. That's just going to house our connection script. We're going to have functions, which is going to hold all of our functions. So for example, logging the user in, registering the user account, showing different statistics, and like I said, if you incorporate a guest book, you can pop everything in here and use it in the site. Sorry, we're not creating a third folder, we are creating a new file. So let's go ahead and create a new file in here. And I'm going to save this as init.php. So what do we need to do within init.php? As I said, we need to include all of our files, but we don't have any yet. So the first thing that we want to do is, because we are allowing users to log in, we're making use of sessions. So we need to, literally the first thing we want to do at the very top of our page is start sessions. So I'm going to use the session start function, and this needs to be called before we use any sessions. So as long as we've got this in the init file, we're going to include this at the top of every page that we create, so we know that we're starting sessions on every page, so if we're checking if the user's logged in or not. Okay, so let's go back to our files. The database folder is going to contain our connection script. So let's go ahead and create that first, and then include it. So we're connecting on every page that the user lands on. That's obviously important as well. So I'm going to create a file. I'm going to save it in database, and I'm going to save it as connect.php. So I'm going to be using the two functions that we usually use to connect, which is MySQL connect and MySQL select DB. So we're using MySQL connect to connect to a MySQL server with a host name, a username, and a password, and our select DB is going to select our database. So the three values here for me are localhost. I'm running on my local machine, but if you're uploading to a public server, this is almost always going to be localhost as well. Then my username, root, and my password, which at the moment is nothing. Now, where do I find this information if I don't know how I'm connecting? Well, if you're running on a local server, you most likely haven't been forced to set a password on any databases that you've created. So I'm going to jump over to phpMyAdmin, and I'm going to go ahead to home, and I'm going to click the privileges tab at the top here. Now you can see that we've got a list of sort of users almost. Now here you can see two versions of root, one on 127.0.0.1, which is equivalent to localhost. We've got all privileges, which means that we can insert records, remove records, join tables, whatever else. It's just, all privileges. And then if we look under password field, it says no. So we know that our host name is localhost, our username is root, and our password does not exist, so we can just do we can just leave this blank like I've done here. Now the database that we know we called LR. We can go over to this here. So we know we've called our database LR, so we can just place that in there. And essentially that's it. We can include things to check if we haven't connected. For example, or die MySQL error. So for example, MySQL error. Now this is a function within a die statement, if you like. So the script will be killed at this point. Nothing will run below this, and then we'll echo out the MySQL error. Now this isn't recommended for runtime on a public server where you're having users access the page, because if they see errors like this, they get to know your directory structure and things like that. So it's not a good idea to leave this open. So I just go ahead and get rid of this for now. If you're having problems, you can debug that way. So connect, we're done. We don't need to add anything else to here, so we can close this. Now within init, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to require any files that we need. Now almost always the first thing that we're going to be doing here is actually requiring this connect script, because anything underneath it is going to use our connection. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to require database /connect.php. So this is connecting, and then anything else below here can use this script, this connection to its advantage. So if we go ahead and refresh here, nothing happens, and mainly because we haven't included init.php. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be getting into the routine of including this at the top of every page that I make. So include, let's think it's core /init.php. So remember, we are on the index page, we're including core init.php, which is then including database connect function, and it's including any functions that we create. We haven't created any yet, but we will be doing. Okay, so we've done that. Let's go ahead and refresh. Nothing's happened, so assume we have no errors in our connection script. Let's go ahead and just force an error quickly, just so we know if anything, well, what kind of output we get. So I'm going to remove the username there, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh, and nothing's happening, which is odd. Let's go ahead and check everything is here. Let's go ahead and say local HST instead. Oh no, we're not getting any errors. Oh no, it's because we're on register.php. Okay, so we'll go index.php, and we should. There we go, we've got an error at the top there. So that doesn't look very nice. You know, it's not great. If your database connection does fail for some reason on your site, you're probably going to want to show your users something a lot nicer than that. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn error reporting off. So if I say error reporting 0, you'll notice that this will go. So that's the first thing, that's gone. So we're not revealing any path names to our users or any detailed information about what we're doing. So here I've set error reporting off. I've just passed a 0 through to this. And in connect, what we could do is we could have some generic connection message. So connect error, for example. This could be defined in another file. It's quite messy to do it in the same file, but we could say sorry, we're experiencing downtime, or something like that, or connection issues. And what we can do here is we can use or die, as we've seen before, and we can actually pass through this connect error variable. So or die, we can do exactly the same with MySQL select DB, so connect error. So now what's going to happen is when we refresh, it kills the script, and we just pass, well, we just show the user this message here. It's entirely up to you. I'm not going to go into this too much more, but we'll leave it as it is for now. Oops, we need to go ahead and actually connect to the right place. So connect local host, and there we go, we're back on. Perfect. So let's go ahead and close this. Now the next thing we want to do is, because we're going to be logging our users in, registering our users, we want to go ahead and require in a file from our functions folder. So I haven't created this file yet, but I'm including it already. I'm including users.php within our functions folder. So let's go ahead and create that file. So inside of our functions, we're going to create a file called users.php, and this is going to be the home of all of the functions that that do anything relating to users. So we may have one called, I don't know, general, which might sanitize data, or you could call it security.php, which sanitizes any data. We're also going to create one called statistics.php, which show, for example, things like the amount of users that have registered on your site. This could also be things like users that are currently logged in, anything like that. So we're going to leave this as it is for now. That's basically it. We've included connect, so we're connected to our database. And in the next part of the tutorial, we're going to be looking at actually allowing the users to log in.